What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge.
В своем движении в другом направлении, к новому мировому порядку,
I think
новой цивилизации.
Even that does not describe why the world has changed so much and why the world has turned so much toward a new world order and a new kind of civilization.
In 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, I think, only once, and hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
This was a stirring address, in my view, shorter than his father's speech when he announced the New World Order.
It's only now that we can begin to understand that the world order that globalization brings and what it's going to look like, it's driven forward now not just by the balance of military strength, the Cold War times, or ordinary political power. It's being driven forward by a seismic shift in economic power that we see around us.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Thousands of people gathered to hear Barack Obama deliver key foreign policy speech on his current European tour. The Democratic presidential hopeful laid out his vision for America's place in a new world order, saying he was speaking as a proud citizen of the United States and a fellow citizen of the world.
I'm sure everyone has heard of the New World Order, whether you've researched it or not. What can be quite confusing is what is it? What is the New World Order? And that's something I'm going to try and explain in very simple terms without causing confusion. So I just want to start by saying that no one can beat God at playing chess, because God knows the future. And if you look at what happened when the Tower of Babel was being built, all God had to do was to confuse the languages, and it put a stop to that rebellion. So God knows the future and has already laid out through prophecy how events on this earth will unfold. In Daniel chapter 2, God revealed to Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel that there would be 4 major kingdoms, which were Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece and Rome. And I've mentioned this many times, because if we are to understand how we came to be where we are today, we need to know our history. And it's also been said that if we forget, those who forget their history are bound to repeat it. So I'll repeat that again. The 4 major kingdoms that God was concerned about, especially in the book of Daniel, but also that kind of mentioned in the book of Revelation. These 4 kingdoms were Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece and Rome. Pagan Rome then changed and became the Roman Catholic Church, which has its HQ in Rome. Yet some people will argue with me and say that the Roman Catholic Church is not the Roman Empire. It is the Roman Empire. It's just a chameleon. It just changes colors just to confuse people. But it's the same system. In the Metal Man of Daniel chapter 2, the statue had legs of iron and clay, which means that even today Rome is still in existence and in control. The iron and clay represent church and state, but the church wields power over the state, just as in the Dark Ages. So there are some Christians who, I don't want to criticize them too much, but they do have like a basic knowledge or understanding of prophecy, specifically the prophecies of Daniel chapter 2. But then when it comes to the 10 toes on the statue, they'll say that those 10 toes represent the 10 nations of Europe that came about after the breakup of the Roman Empire, and that is incorrect. God is not. I mean, I've said it before in one of my videos where I explained Daniel chapter 2, the misunderstanding behind Daniel chapter 2. that's a very Eurocentric interpretation of prophecy, or of Daniel chapter 2 specifically. God is concerned about the whole world, not just Europe. And we also know that today there are, I think there are about 28 or 27 nations in the European Union, bearing in mind that the United Kingdom left the European Union after the Brexit referendum. So, yeah, 10 toes, plus the Heruli, the Vandals and the Ostrogoths were also destroyed, completely destroyed. They don't exist anymore. They were destroyed at the after the papacy sent armies to destroy them, because they held sway over Rome, and also they had a different doctrine to the papacy. So that's not to say that the 10 toes on the statue in Daniel represent Europe. Is a very shallow understanding of prophecy. Just like the Roman Empire had bases scattered around different parts of Europe, the US has between 750 to 800 military bases around the world. The Roman Empire had military bases throughout Europe as well. These bases were strategically located to maintain control over the vast territories and to defend against external threats and internal rebellions. The Roman army established a network of forts and camps which served as permanent or semi-permanent military installations. Overall, the presence of military bases across Europe, including in Britain, was a key factor in the Roman Empire's ability to project power and maintain its dominance over the region. And I've stated on numerous occasions that America is fighting wars on behalf of the papacy. The American military, or the military-industrial complex, and that term was coined by President Eisenhower on his way out from the U.S. presidency, is basically the same. It's carrying out the same role as the Roman armies. And the reason why America fights wars on behalf of the papacy is because the papacy doesn't have its own army. I mean, not counting the Jesuits. We know that the Jesuits are the military arm of the papacy, but they are like warrior monks, okay, and not counting the Swiss guards. Those we can't say that the Swiss guards that protect the Pope at Saint Peter's Basilica are an army. They are not an army. So even if you look at how America was founded, it's been said many times that America is a Christian nation. Well, yeah, there were lots of Christians that went to America to escape, to run away from persecution, such as the Puritans. Another sects of Christianity that left Europe to go to America, but a lot of the so-called founding fathers were actually Masons and deists who did not have the same belief in God that we do. They had a different belief, and obviously, the other thing is that all secret societies are actually run by they're controlled by the papacy, and especially now by the Jesuits after the Jesuits were founded. The Jesuits were founded in 1534, but they were approved by Pope Paul III in 1540. So all secret societies are controlled by the Jesuits, and we know that even the very first president of America, George Washington, was a Mason. So he was actually under the control of the Jesuits. So America was actually established as a nation to play its role in fighting, not just fighting these wars for against the enemies of the papacy, but to have an influence over the whole world through its culture. I mean, most people around the world like to watch Hollywood movies. They listen to the music that's produced in America. So America has a lot of influence on the world, and we know that from in Revelation 13, the first part of Revelation 13 talks about the papacy, and how everyone will wander after the beast that comes up out of the sea. But then the beast that comes up out of the earth, which is mentioned in the second part of Revelation 13, is actually America. It says that America basically will influence the world to follow the papacy. And anyone who refuses to do so will be punished by death eventually. So I just wanted to mention as well. I mentioned that I'm not counting the Jesuits as an army per se right now. Yes, they actually do tell or control the American military, but they don't go to war themselves. So I just wanted to mention that the name of the Latin name of the Jesuits is Regimini Militantis Ecclesia. So they are a militia, yes, but they're not. They direct how wars are fought by the United States, but they don't go to war themselves. In a 1903 copy of the Chicago Tribune, Archbishop Quigley said, "When the United States rules the world, the Catholic Church will rule the world." Because yes, it can be hard to believe sometimes. And I think most of the world thinks that America is a force for good. With all these wars that they've been fighting. But actually, if you do your research, you'll find that most of these wars that have been fought by America have been fought based on lies. If we go back as far as even World War II, when they say even the sinking of the Lusitania, which basically drew in the United States into the First World War. That was a planned event. The sinking of that ship was a planned event. The Lusitania being an American ship that had American citizens on it. But yeah, that was a planned event. And even Winston Churchill, who was an admiral, was involved in that. And then the Second World War, which was about the reason why the US joined the Second World War was because they said that they'd been attacked by Japan, but they don't mention that they had put Japan on an oil embargo, which was basically a provocation, and they knew that the Japanese were coming because they had radar. I've even read an article some years ago that there were some small Japanese submarines which were sunk as they approached the American shores, because the Americans knew they were coming, so they sank those submarines. And then when they were bombed, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, which is actually near Hawaii, and they actually moved some of the Americans had moved some of their ships, some of their old ships to that location in Pearl Harbor. It's kind of like they knew that the Japanese were going to attack them, but so they put their old ships there, but they didn't put their best new ships in that location. And then that was an excuse for the Americans to join World War II. But it's interesting that, and it's also been mentioned that it's interesting how when America joined World War II, they say, in quotes, they had been attacked by the Japanese, but they went and started fighting with Germany. Germany didn't attack America, so why did America attack and start fighting the Germans? And of course, maybe it was because they say that the Japanese and the Germans were friendly nations. But yeah, remember that in the book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu being a fictional character, that book was actually written by a Jesuit. It says, anyway, one of the main quotes from there, it says that all warfare is based on deception. So all these wars that America is fighting and has fought in the past have all been based on lies. So even 9/11 was basically an inside job. This whole thing about Osama bin Laden orchestrating the whole thing from a cave in Afghanistan, I mean, those are just fairy tales. After all, it's actually came out that Osama bin Laden actually worked for the CIA, just like Saddam Hussein was a CIA agent who was helped to remove the government in Iraq with the help of the CIA. He removed the government through a coup and became president. So we've go back to the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which resulted in America going to war in Vietnam. That was also a lie as well. There was actually no attack. They said that one of the ships. It's interesting that most of these incidents actually involve ships, but they say that one of the ships was attacked by the Vietnamese. But then it came out that it was a lie. So, which other incidents have they spoken about? And sometimes they'll do what they call a preemptive strike, where they attack another nation when they haven't been attacked, like what happened in Libya, and also the Al-Nusra Front, a terrorist organization that removed the government in Syria. That removed the Assad government in Syria. That terrorist organization was funded by the Americans through the CIA, just like Al Qaeda basically was founded by the CIA. All these terrorist organizations are supported by the CIA and Mossad and these intelligence agencies. So what we're told in history, what we learn in history, is almost like a fiction, basically. Most or almost all wars are based on deception. What we are told is not true. So the last thing I read here was that this Archbishop said that when the United States rules the world, the Catholic Church will rule the world. Yet because the United States is fighting all these wars on different fronts on behalf of the papacy. So in other words, the New World Order is when the Catholic Church rules the world through America's military might. So the New World Order will not only be achieved through military power. I know I've spoken about the military quite a lot already, but that's not the only. Those are not the only means that are going to be used to bring about a New World Order. There are other means as well, such as the scamdemics, which we've been through one from 2020 to 2024, but there've been other scamdemics as well, like the so-called Spanish flu, and there've been two others before that. So, and these scamdemics happen every 4 years, and not every 4 years, sorry, every 100 years. It appears, and I've mentioned that in one of my other videos, because these are all planned events to bring about the New World Order. And then right now we have the climate change hoax, which has been going on for quite a while, and then we have religion, which is another thing that's going to be used to bring about the New World Order, banking, including CBDCs, which will fulfill Revelation 13:17, and I've spoken about CBDCs in my other videos. For those maybe who haven't watched that, CBDCs are central bank digital currencies. It's money that you can't touch, basically. It's like could be on your phone, and there are some who say that eventually, the plan, the agenda is to chip all human beings. And Aaron Russo, who made a documentary called America, Freedom to Fascism, said that he became friendly with one of the Rockefellers. I think his name was Nathan Rockefeller. He said that Nathan Rockefeller told him that the ultimate agenda when it comes to controlling human beings is that every human being is going to be chipped like a dog, like how they chip pets, so that when a pet is found, it can be scanned, and all the information about where that dog, who the owner of that dog is, and which address that dog or cat is supposed to be at, can be on the chip. Aaron Russo said that that's the plan eventually, and now recently Klaus Schwab, who was the chairman of the World Economic Forum, said that people will be encouraged to wear wearables, and wearables are the ones that basically detect everything that's going on in your body. They can detect your heart rate, and they can also tell when you're about to get sick, and then send a message to the health officials so that they can help you before you get sick. And then more recently, RFK has said that he wants all Americans to be wearing wearables by 2029, which is just 4 years away. Bear in mind that I'm making this in 2025. I'm making this video in 2025. So you can see that they're trying to get everyone accustomed to wearing all these things, things with RFIDs, all these wearables, even this smartphone that I'm using right now. It's a tracking device and a listening device as well. So we're being slowly trained to get used to this smart technology, so that when some of these things come about, which actually restrict our and strip us of our freedoms, we won't have an issue with it because we'll be used to using them. So it won't surprise me that, and then it's been said, especially by Seventh-day Adventists, that the mark of the beast is not a chip. Well, if in the future, in the very near future, everyone is told that they have to have a chip, to have a chip on their hand or any other part of the body. Are you going to accept it because you believe that the mark of the beast is not a chip? I mean, I know for certain that CBDCs are going to play a part in the fulfillment of Revelation 13. So we shouldn't think that because the mark of the beast, yes, involves Sunday worship, but how is that going to be enforced? It's going to be enforced through money. So money has to be controlled, and anyone who doesn't go along with the agenda basically is going to be put on sanctions. That's what the no buy, no sell is talking about. It's basically sanctions against those who, the no buying specifically, is basically sanctions against those who don't go along with the program. So I was mentioning some of the things that are going to be used here to bring about a new world order, and I mentioned CBDCs, which I've just explained, governments and politics. Because the politicians are basically puppets, they are going to be used as well to bring about a new world order. And we see that even Trump, who was trusted by so many Americans, now is basically betraying Americans, which is not really a surprise because I knew that he was just a Jesuit puppet. So for those that didn't know that, maybe it's a hard lesson for you. Don't trust anyone. The Bible says that we should not trust anyone. The media is being used as well. Corporations, by corporations I mean big companies. And I made videos about that. I've made videos about all these issues that I'm talking about right now. Secret societies being used as well, public education and smart cities, all these, and I might have left out some other things that are being used and are going to be used to bring about a new world order, but yeah. So Paul Warburg, who was one of the ones behind the setting up of the Federal Reserve, which is a central bank that's privately owned. It's not a government agency. It's privately owned by the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Morgans. By the Morgans, I mean the family of J.P. Morgan. And even the Warburgs themselves were involved in setting up the Federal Reserve. Now, so the Federal Reserve basically, these things are done incrementally. They took away gold, and then they because initially when they started printing money on paper money, that paper money was backed by gold, but not since 1971. The American dollar is not backed by gold anymore. So now we're moving away from the paper money, and we're going towards CBDCs, which are digital currencies which can be controlled. They will have controls on them, such as an expiry date, so you won't be able to save them and you'll be forced to spend that money. You can also be restricted in a way. You can use CBDCs. For instance, they might say you're not allowed to use CBDCs outside your own town because it's going to be linked to climate change. They'll say that if you travel far away and you want to use CBDCs, they might say you need to spend those CBDCs in your own town. Don't go outside your town, because you'll say that by traveling you're actually emitting emissions which contribute to climate change, which is false science. So Paul Warburg, anyway, I was saying Paul Warburg said we will have a world government whether you like it or not. The only question is whether that government will be achieved by conquest or consent. And that he said that in February 17, 1950. Yeah, if we will have world government at some point, and it's already predicted. So in the Holy Scriptures, it does not use the expression New World Order, but that's pretty much what he's talking about when in Revelation chapter 13, when he talks about the mark of the beast and no buy, no sell. That's what he's talking about. So the New World Order is the enslavement of all mankind, and most people will comply with their own enslavement, just like what happened in this pandemic. So I did say at the very beginning of the video that I wanted to explain what the New World Order is, because I'm sure everyone has heard about that, but maybe it's not been explained very clearly as to what it is. Well, I've already partially mentioned it here, but the New World Order basically is when the Catholic Church rules the world, and this Archbishop Quigley actually said one of the signs that the New World Order, we didn't use the expression New World Order, but we will know that the Catholic Church rules the world when America rules the world with all these bases, military bases that is setting up around the world. And we know for a fact that one of the last wars that are going to be fought, one of the last wars will be against Iran, because remember after 9/11 that General Wesley came out and said that he spoke to someone in the Pentagon, and they said that they mentioned 7 countries that were going to be attacked as a result of 9/11. Bearing in mind that 9/11 was an inside job, like I've already said, but that the last country to be attacked is going to be Iran. And when we see all these countries that are kind of somehow opposed to the papacy, being bombed and attacked and conquered and taken over, when all these countries that are resisting the power of the papacy, when they have been conquered, then we will have a new world order. So that's what the New World Order is. The New World Order is basically when the Catholic Church rules the world, and it's the New World Order is not going to be a nice thing. It's not going to be a utopia. There will be nothing nice about it. It's only conformers, and cowards who will be happy to go into the New World Order, because it's going to be a time in the world's history when human beings are totally stripped of their God-given rights. So I personally, I wouldn't want to have any part in the New World Order, because true Christianity is actually going to be forbidden, and Christians will be persecuted. It's only those who, because remember, the one who's really kind of controlling things from behind the curtain is the devil. It's not going to be. The New World Order is not going to be favorable to true Bible-believing Christians, because they are, one of their agendas as we move towards the introduction of a New World Order is they want to eradicate true Christianity. What's going to be allowed is this watered-down version of Christianity, where the Christians will be forced to go to church on Sunday, which is not even the day of worship that's mentioned in the Holy Scriptures. But yeah. Without going on too much, I hope that what I've said makes sense to everyone. This is the time to be preparing. Sometimes, as Christians, there's a tendency to want to take action, to be reactive rather than proactive. The time to be preparing is now, when we still have a window of opportunity. And what am I talking about when I say preparing? I'm talking about preparing spiritually, to be drawing closer and closer to God, more than we've ever been before, reading our Bibles every day, praying every day, and moving away from the cities, because there are going to be lots of things that are going to be done in the cities that will control our movements and restrict our freedoms, and even gathering to worship, that may possibly be outlawed in the future, because we saw that happening during this pandemic. They said that going to church and gathering for worship was not allowed, because it was going to spread the virus. So and obviously the water, the drinking water, the tap water is poisoned. The food in the shops is poisoned. It's got GMO, and then they're also spraying. In heavily populated countries, they're spraying chemtrails. So it's best to move away from places like that, and basically get ready. Once again, getting ready involves having a good, not just a good connection with God, but a constant connection with God, just like Jesus had when he was on this earth.